Hello, everyone. This is Samir, and we're Men in Black.
Yep, this is Simon.
And he's Men in Black, too. We're both
Yeah,
Men in Black. All right.
yeah, we are.
I'm
And it's funny.
introducing for the first time, so we'll try it out. Maybe Simon needs to take the role forever.
I had to remind Samir we're the Men in Black earlier because he had a white shirt on. So, just let you know a little behind the scenes. But you notice I'm coming here from outside. But we're coming here from outside, at least on my end today. Just want to get out of the house a little bit. But Samir, you were telling me a little bit about an experience you just had in the outdoors.
Right. And it was so good outdoors that I came in with a white sweater instead of Men in Black, Men in White, right? But thank God I got Simon there to remind. See, that's why it's good to get clean early, right, Simon?
That's right. Got to stay sane and focused.
Right. And I was at 32, which is still fairly clean. That should say something to young people, right? In a nice way. Anyway, yeah, I mean, just Simon. Life is just so beautiful. Mother's Day was so spectacular, and just to feel the show we did was so beautiful. Such great response from a lot of moms. Personally, I got emails, texts, just thanking God because it's not us.
Yep,
So
had a beautiful conversation with my mom too.
Really, tell us about that. How did that go?
Oh gosh, my mom, I've just let her into little pieces of my recovery journey, and we've gone through the amends process and the forgiveness process, and I shared in that episode that I get little snippets of being able to share with her. Mom, thank you for what you've done in my life here. I can share this picture of this baby now and this picture of this 5-year-old. And so we just had a beautiful conversation to just kind of, every time I get a chance to say thank you to my mom, I mean, she keeps telling me I don't have to. And I say, yeah, no, Mom, but I get to. It's just kind of an ongoing theme in our conversations. And every day I talk to her, she still has wisdom to share. She's in her mid-70s. She's not ashamed of her age. She's doing pretty well for her age, but she also is very aware of where she's at. And so, she's saying, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here. I said, but we're just going to enjoy every day that you are, Mom. And just, so it was a great conversation.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's absolutely true. Like I said, if you still have your mom, either cherish her, call her, love her, invite her out, because one day it's not going to happen, and you'll miss her, and you wish you did. So, all we're doing is pointing that out. I know I wasn't a very good son for a long time, and one day that hit on me, and things changed. So it's very cool to be able to do that. It's so cool, Simon, you sharing that with us. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But tell us a little bit about this experience you had outside a couple of days ago.
Just I was walking, it was just like a presence that was with me, and I've been a little bit emotional because it was Mother's Day. It was the first Mother's Day without my mom, and I had a friend that something similar had happened, and he decided we were speaking to pray for both of our moms, and when that was done, it was just this feeling that I never had before, this contentment and joy, this understanding of things, and this knowledge that, God is so good that I think God will come to us by just acknowledging that He's God. But the truth is that all the power is in His Son, right, Simon?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the word power because here we are in recovery, right? And I don't care if you've been through Celebrate Recovery or a different recovery process. I'm a huge fan of Celebrate Recovery and a leader and participant myself. But the idea of in recovery is that the steps are in order, right? So the first one is to realize like you're not God or the higher power, right? Which if any of us have tried for any length of time to fix ourselves within our own power, we realize how miserably we fail. Okay, if I try to quit looking at pornography and I try to quit compulsively eating and dealing with anxiety, and I just think I've got the power within myself to do it, I'm sadly mistaken. And that's a part of the process of recognizing that. But then the very next step is to acknowledge there is a higher power, right? And if he's a higher power or she, right, it could be anything. But from a higher power perspective, we have to acknowledge that the higher power is actually a actual higher power.
Exactly. In other words, sometimes we love to make the rules, right? But, and he's very flexible, but it gets to a point where there's just certain rules that those are the rules. And as much as you want to stretch it, it won't go that far sometimes. So nevertheless, he's extremely kind, benevolent, he loves us. But there's one direct way, and that's what I was put in my heart that day a lot, about the Lord and his love for us and his unconditional love. And then, what more that we were reminiscing, what about supernatural? What more supernatural than feeling the presence of love and of God? What about not using for 21 and a half years? What about acting out? What about so many things that we both live that we don't do anymore? And you and I work with people, we know how hard it is, and we know that it's the work of the Lord. We have
Yeah.
no doubt in our mind. I know that, son.
Yeah. And from my perspective as well, it comes down to you can't have more than one higher power, right?
Thank you.
You can worship something, but you can't worship some things, right? Because one of them is really going to come to that place in your heart where you acknowledge that this being, this presence has the authority or the higher power, highest power thrown in your life. And so from that perspective, I will unashamedly say that my higher power's name is Jesus Christ. And I've experienced gifts from Jesus Christ that are outlined in what he said is his word. And again, we talked about those rules, right? If this higher power in my life is a higher power, then the higher power sets the rules.
But
And
they're rules for us, Simon, right? They're rules. We would think they were like God saying you can't, but no, they're rules to protect Samir from Samir. And in active addiction, I couldn't see that. I was furious. Here I am trying to be saved, and I'm screaming and kicking to be left to drown. It's incredible.
yep. And I think there's a reasonable and healthy anger that many people who have not experienced the
Right.
love, joy, and peace, and so on and so forth from a higher power experience, that they haven't experienced that. However, they've experienced what they feel like is wrath and judgment and hardship. And if you understand the rules of engagement with our higher power, he said, the first thing you have to do is trust me. Then these things you can experience. I can lead you to them, but you have to trust me. And so often in my recovery, I thought, well, I'm trusting something, but it ends up being I'm trusting myself. And when I trust in the power I have myself, I come up short every single time. So I think it's universally understood by anyone who has even attempted step one of 12 steps or any other recovery path that like I don't have the power within me and I have to choose a higher power. Okay, I've chosen Jesus Christ because I've understood and experienced the gifts he is ready and eager to give me in return. But I have to trust him, right? If it's a
Exactly. And
yeah, if he's a
listen,
higher power, I gotta trust him.
you got to trust them. And one of the cool things about what you're saying is like, we are not judgmental. You know, I'm not telling anyone anything about anything. I'm just telling them about me. Now, I believe absolutely. And one word before you even said the word shamed or ashamed that came to my mind, and I always tell people because I love it, is blessed is he who is not ashamed of me. Just like I wasn't ashamed when I was out there doing what I wasn't supposed to do, and I had no shame then, believe me, and I could just do it very tranquil. Well, why not? Why not now that I represent this God that has given me my wife back after 5 years of being divorced 20 years ago? That happened a long time ago, not recently, a long time, decades. So many beautiful things that he's done. Right. We say Jesus because that's his name. I mean, I'm not going to say Johnny or Peter, and it's no disrespect to anyone, but that's my true belief. That's yours. You know, when people think they get offended because of this or that, I am not trying to offend anyone. I'm just saying, like, hey, I like chocolate ice cream. Hey, Jesus Christ is God for me. He's not chocolate ice cream like I like chocolate ice cream. He's God. But I like him. I love him. Like you like, do you understand? So there's so much in that. Like as Christians, we have this agenda to go out and destroy the entire humanity who's against God. And you and I know, unfortunately, because we did it, we do that ourselves. God doesn't need to help in that. Isn't that
That's right.
crazy, guys?
It is. And, I think one of the things we have to remember, and it's one of the reasons that I come outside, and the reason I'm outside right now, is that in the times that I have struggled to see and understand who God is, he will reveal himself. If I will be open in my approach to him to say, I have to believe that you exist and that somehow you said that I matter to you and you're ready to help me. You have the ability to help me. If I'll open myself, he'll reveal himself on his terms, right? And so his word talks about the fact that creation, right? Trees, and I love being outside. I don't do it often enough. My wife and my kids, if they see this, they're going to be like, Daddy, you should come outside more often. Because I'm always working on
Get
something. But
as much sanitizer on you as you can before you go back in that house, young man.
That's right. But the truth is, I'm in my front yard, by the way, so nobody else is here. But
Good.
but the truth is, if I miss God in some channel like His Word that He's clearly spoken about, He'll take the time to say, "Hey, my follower, I want to get your attention. I want to show you something that reveals a little something about me." So if we're paying attention, there's so many ways that God will reveal himself. Now, the one thing he won't ever do is contradict himself, right? If he's a higher power, he's not going to contradict himself, but he'll
Can't go
reveal
against his
himself.
word. You can't say like bad is good and good is bad. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's just so important that that entire idea of God, we have to settle as people in recovery. And like I said, just because I'm several years in, this is 7, 8 years for me. Samir has talked about 20 years for him, right? We can't go
2.5
and
years. Don't take any time off. It was a lot to get.
there you go. But we can't say we're not working this process because here we are still working it, right? But at the same time,
You have to,
every,
or else we'll die.
that's right. But every
Emotional
single
death. It doesn't
day,
have to be physical.
yeah, every single day we're working this process, there's something that God is revealing about himself to us that is helping us through this process. Like I said, every day clean is a miracle, because me left to my own devices would be continuing to do all of the things I thought were okay and were actually hurting me and hurting people I loved. And if I continued to live that lifestyle, I would be spreading nothing but pain, hurt, and destruction in my life and in the world. And my higher power cares enough about me to say, don't do that anymore. In fact, let me help you. You made your own effort, and that's great, but you still fell way short. But with my help, you can. Only with my help can you. Speaking from God's perspective, not me, right? So from that perspective, it's about understanding that if I have a higher power, this episode is not about this, but the very next step is to turn things over, right? I can't hold on to it and say like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to white knuckle this. I'm going to be hard. I'm going to be brave. It's like, man, I have to acknowledge,
At
no,
one time, you won't be able to continue to do it. Willpower can only take you so much.
yeah, we have to connect to a supply that is infinite because we are finite beings. I have a channel on Facebook called Good Dirt. It's actually about jokes, like dad jokes and silly things, just to make people laugh. But part of the idea of
Bad
Good
jokes,
Dirt,
really.
yeah, oh yeah, lots of dad jokes. but the idea is that we are really just made of dirt, right? Like this flesh is nothing but dirt. I mean, it says so much that we were formed from the dust of the earth, but the value that we have is the supernatural, God breathing His life into us and working effectively in us. And so from that perspective, if I'm trusting my dirt to try to accomplish something, I will fail. But if I'm trusting the higher power who has chosen to breathe life into me, not only will I succeed, but I'll succeed in recovery, but I'll succeed in doing the things he's formed me for in the
Right,
first place.
exactly. And you're so right about that. It's so amazing. And one thing that you touched on about that situation, you know, um, the recrimination or something that happened in the past. And, I always tell people, like, I see the Lord when he comes, he's like a rebel in the kind of the establishment that was happening. Everything was wrong. The people that were professing God was actually professing something completely different, right? Everything was upside down. And when the Lord comes and he presents himself and he's like, just it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter who you slept with, it doesn't matter what you've done, it doesn't matter what you haven't done, it doesn't matter if you think yourself completely pious and you're not. Every single one of those people he gave love to. So I feel, Simon, that when I don't make the mark in my process in whatever character defect or thing in my life, by the grace of God, abstinence in those critical areas are things you can't really make mistakes at once you're in recovery because they're fatal. Having said that, you can still get back on track, but it's not the best way to go. But I've never felt the Lord say, like, you're so bad, I don't want you no more, you should know better. No, it's always like, come on, Samir, I love you, I adore you. And he points out all the good things that I am doing because the enemy, the mind, has a way of pointing out the 99 things that this person, that person might be doing right. No, it points out the 1% that you're doing wrong and it sticks in that person's brain. And all the other 99, it's easy to forget. So that recrimination and all that, maybe at the beginning a little, but later on there wasn't any. It was just like, I love you, and when you suffer, I suffer. So come to me. I'm here to help, even if you just messed up big time. And that was just so assuring because no one had ever given me that love except my mom and my dad. But surely in the world, if you mess up, they're not going to say, you don't go to work, they're not, for 2 weeks, they're not going to say, well, we're just going to pay you anyway. I mean, now who knows with everything that's happened, but I mean, before, no,
Yeah,
you have to
strange
work
times.
to get paid, right? So it's almost like that. And I'm just so grateful to that because without that unconditional love from the Lord, loving, caring, all powerful, all knowing, more powerful than from here to Tokyo a billion times and never stops, God, than the disease, than this thing, and this thing. So thank you, Lord. But because love, that's what got me, Simon. Isn't that the love? It wasn't like, you got to do this. It was more like, okay, come. It's all right. We're going to get it better. And somewhere in there, I think God saw my willingness to keep trying. Faith without works is dead. And then one day the miracle happened, which is our miracle, that we got up and this thing that was in our lives for so long, recovery, we're still, it's not gone, you're still working, but the beauty of it, it has no power unless you give it any. It's basically like a starving little animal. The unfortunate thing with addictions is that you can feed it a little bone, and it's like that doggy at the side of the road that unfortunately has been hit by a car. It's terrible. I've seen people go out and try to help these dogs to save their lives, but they're on the last breath and they try to bite you. And that's the
Mm,
disease. It can be on its last breath, but if you give it, and the crazy thing is, it doesn't need much. That's why I always say it's like a little tiny door is what opens. And then before you know
wow.
it, little mosquito is like a giant puma, and you're like, what happened? Oh, right, that thing that I did a month ago. And it starts with little ones. It never comes like, look
Wow.
at what's going to happen, right, Simon? Is that
I, I think you just spoke on something that's probably going to be the one of the next episodes we talk about, which is the setup for a relapse, in that perspective, and what those little baby steps look like. But listen, we need to wrap this episode up for today. But man, it's been such an excellent conversation, and I really just want to leave you all with this question: if you have not figured out what or who your higher power is, that's something either Samir or I would love to talk with you about offline. We will be as transparent as we can possibly be in terms of just helping you understand the steps we have taken to get to the place where we are now, and understanding the love that Christ has to offer, because this is not some fairy tale we're telling you, but actual things we've seen and heard. So again, just we're Simon and Samir, and Samir is a board certified counselor, and he is available. His information is in the show notes for you to read, and reach out to him if you are interested in getting connected to someone who can really be a shepherd to you through this process.
happening? And if you don't mind, this time I'll say about my buddy and Simon here, this wonderful ministry leader of Celebrate Recovery here at First Baptist Orlando. He's helped so many people. He also has various ventures with the Lord, and he'll let you know also if you click on his page. It's interesting to see how we can also be in recovery, but also be responsible, productive members of society. Simon.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are the Men in Black Recovery Show, and it's been great to be with you. We'll see you next time.